Hello, and welcome to this lecture on demand and supply. In this lecture, I'm going to be discussing the language of demand and supply. I'm going to talk about causation, and I'm also going to explain what causes changes in demand and what causes changes in supply.
Demand describes the value that we place on goods and services, whereas supply describes how much a producer is willing to accept for their goods and services.
When we're looking at the equations for demand and supply, we see that we have a quantity which is a function of price. That is, quantity is the dependent variable and price is the independent variable. Consumers are reacting to prices. That's how they decide how much of a good or service they will purchase. Suppliers are also responding to prices. They are deciding how much they would like to sell given the price in the market. Here we have two demand equations. We have individual A and individual B. And looking at these two equations, and particularly looking at the graph, we see that person A has a higher demand than person B. With respect to supply, we can see that supplier A has a higher supply than supplier B. Considering these equations, we have already seen one component of causation. When prices change, it causes quantities to change. So what causes prices to change? Well, those are going to be changes in demand or supply. A change in demand or supply is going to cause a change in the price, which is going to cause a change in the quantity. Imagine that a good becomes popular. Consumers really would like to purchase this good, so it's become fashionable to have this particular good or service. As a result of this good becoming fashionable, the demand increases. The increase in demand is going to cause the price to increase. And the increase in price is going to cause the quantity supplied to increase. Notice the terminology that we are using here, and notice the order of causation. Demand, price, quantity supplied. If we were to look at this on a graph, we would show the demand increasing. We see that as a result of this demand increase, the price has increased, and as a result of the price increase, the quantity supplied is increasing. Pay attention to that terminology.
So pay attention to the terminology that is being used. The change in demand shows the entire demand curve shifting. The change in quantity, in this case quantity supplied, is a movement along the supply curve.
Also pay attention to the order in which things occur. So what causes changes in demand? Well, if there is an increase in population, there's going to be an increase in demand for every good that we have. Changes in preferences. This is one of the big impacts on demand. And then we can look at income, both average income and the distribution of income. Income is going to cause the demand for some goods to increase and for other goods to decrease, depending on whether they are normal goods or inferior goods. Relative prices. So what is the price of one good compared to another? Here, we would be talking about substitutes and complements. And we also have expectations for the future, both income expectations and price expectations. Changes in supply are going to occur because of changes in the state of nature. Thinking about agricultural goods, clearly the weather is going to affect how big the crops are. Changes in input prices. When we have technology changes, this is going to increase supply. Generally, technology improves. If we have more suppliers, then we're going to have a bigger supply for that particular good. The prices of other products are also going to affect the supply. So we have what we call substitutes in production and complements in production. And future price expectations. So businesses are going to start up or close down based on what they think is going to happen in the future in their particular industry. So what did we review today? We learned that demand and quantity demanded are different things. Demand is the entire relationship between price and quantity demanded, just as supply is the relationship between price and quantity supplied. We also learned about orders of causation. So the first thing that happens is an increase or a decrease in demand or supply. Then there's going to be a price change. And then there's going to be an increase or decrease in the quantity supplied or quantity demanded. So hopefully you found this review of supply and demand useful. Thank you for joining. Take care, everybody.